All right, I'm with Jeff Crane. We're at MID Countertops. They're fabricating the Ren's countertops, and I want to show you how that process goes because it's really interesting. How you doing this morning, Jeff?
Good, sir. How are you?
Good.
Thank you guys for coming.
We appreciate you letting us in here. This is one of the countertop slabs that we're going to be using for the Ren's. And how big are these slabs?
They vary in size. All will be a little larger than, big variance in them is the color. A lot of the darker colors are a little more stronger, so you can of course cut those larger. The lighter the material, the more fragile it is, so of course the smaller the slabs are.
How much do they weigh?
On an average from about 500 and up, depending on the size. Anywhere from 5 to about.
You got some heavy equipment in here to do the lifting for us. So we're going to take the viewer from slab stage where you just got a real rough cut. We're going to go through the process of how they actually cut the slabs to such a precise measurement to be able to fit on top of the cabinets in the kitchen. So this is going to be great. What kind of material is this?
This is a gallo napoli. The good thing about this napoli is it basically has no direction. It's just a very subtle, consistent color.
So you buy the slab and it's already finished on the face that you see, and you're going to make a real precise cut, put an edge on it, and then finish the edge, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All the slabs are basically polished from the quarry. Once these slabs are quarried, in the quarry they are actually cut into blocks about the size of an average school bus. Then they run it through a saw a great deal larger than what we have here, and basically slice it into slab size, which you see here, and then it goes through a series of planers and polishers to get this finish on what you see.
Okay, and so y'all are about to pick one of these slabs up and take it over to another station, that right?
Yes, sir. We're going to move this slab over to this bridge saw, which is the first step in the cutting process.
All right, well that'll be fun. We'll watch the process. There we go. He picks it up like it's just a dime, and here's the good side. We're just going to stack that one out of the way, I'm supposing, while we pick up the larger one. Now this is Hector, and he's on a forklift. He's going to be setting up right next to one of these slabs, and he's going to pick it up. Jeff's going to help him load it up, and then we're going to take it over to a different location. This is great. I'd never seen this before either, but there's this giant clamp that grabs hold of one of these slabs, and just the sheer weight of the slab is what sets the force together that the clamp uses in order to pick the slab up. That slab's about 500 pounds according to Jeff, so he better watch his toes. And they're going to take it over to that device you see. It's just a big table, and they're going to set it down. They're going to make some real rough cuts. All right, now the slab's up off the ground. It's being held in place by a couple of those steel rods, and now they're removing that big clamp, and now we're ready to start marking and cutting the slab. Now the slab's being lowered into position. Hector is operating the controls. This is Hector, and they're going to set it down, and then they're going to cut it and try to get not overly close, but probably within an inch of the final dimensions. Now Jeff's trying to find the right template. It'd be a big mistake to pull the wrong template off the stack and cut that nice big sheet of granite into the wrong dimensions. Here's the granite over here. Off camera, Jeff and I were just talking about how you price a job out. They've got a very simple formula for pricing a job out. It's pretty much just by the square foot. Different people have different methods, but it's kind of deceiving, and I thought I'd bring Jeff on here. We talk about that. So tell me exactly how MID prices a job out, without any kind of prices or anything, because they'll all vary, but go ahead.
Well, we try to make it as easy as possible for the customer, of course, which is the most important thing. A lot of companies where they have so many hidden charges added into the cost of the granite. And the homeowners or remodelers doesn't really take that into consideration unless they're educated and do some research. The biggest problem with granite pricing, I get calls every day where people will see an internet price advertised at $28 a square foot. Normally what they don't realize is that it's basically one color that a company may offer for that price.
And then everything is extra.
Exactly. Then you take into consideration your edging, which we have 9 different edges at no additional charge. For instance, you can take into consideration that some companies will charge you a certain amount for a full bullnose. They will charge you by the linear foot of your finished edge. With MID, we don't add any edge charges. The only ones we charge any additional charge for are the OG and the chisel or any of the double custom edges.
And one of the things that you guys do also is you have a great selection of sinks that you install, that you don't have to go down to the plumbing supply house and pick out and have on the job. They'll actually install the undermount sink, isn't that right?
Yes, sir. We do buy in quantity. We offer a full line of stainless sinks ranging from a single bowl standard up to 70-30s, 60-40s, 50-50s. We have a complete line of bar sinks and laundry sinks. We also offer a complete line of porcelain and undermount sinks for the bathrooms.
That's great. Well, that's really important, because if they're installing the sink at the site, then they're responsible for making sure that the sink actually fits. If you have a sink that you're providing and you give them a template and they cut to the template, it doesn't match up, then it's a matter of who shot John. So it's really important to have all of that under the same hat.
Absolutely. It just makes it a lot easier for us to control, which now we do deal with several plumbing companies around town, and depending on the company that you deal with, they will make your job a little easier. I know in particular one locally here will have sinks delivered directly to our shop, which that helps out. But there again, when we buy in quantity of the stainless sinks, we can still save you money, and when we save money, we pass that cost on to the customers.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the great reasons why we use MID, is because they are a one-stop shop. We don't have to worry about whether things are going to fit, whether the sink's going to be delivered on time, and they're sitting here waiting for production. No, they just handle the whole thing, and they've got a whole line of top-quality sinks that go into their Granite installations. Thank you very much, Jeffrey.
Thank you.
All right, now they've located the correct templates, and they're unpacking them, and then they're going to take the template, set it on top of the granite, see how it lines up the best, and then make some real rough cuts. There we go. So now they just line the templates up on the granite. So you've got a little bit of granite exposed at that end, a little bit of granite exposed on this end, and they're going to take as many of those templates, they're going to lay it out on there so they can get as many cuts out of one piece as possible. So now they've got all these templates laid out on top of the sheet of granite. This is one template, this is another template, there's 2 other templates over there. They've got it laid out to where they can do a real rough cut, but they can get them all in one sheet. And they're going to have one more piece that they'll have to cut from another piece of granite. All right, Jeff, now that we've got all of the templates laid out on the granite, what's the next thing that happens?
Well, the next step is the saw man will come in and he will do his reference marks on basically each corner of the slab, or the template marked onto the slab. Then the bridge saw itself is actually a laser guided bridge saw. So he only needs to mark his reference marks. Once he gets those reference marks, then the saw basically takes care of the rest.
All right, this is Saul. Saul is a sawman, and he is arranging. He made a couple of changes in the way that they had the templates set up, and Jeff is telling me that an experienced sawman is really wonderful to have. Why is it so important that you have experienced sawman? What's he doing that an inexperienced man may not have thought about?
Well, an experienced sawman will, when he lays out the templates, he will look the slab over and basically visualize in his mind of how these pieces are going to come together. Depending on the kitchen layout, again, you may have some pieces that are cut from one piece of material, and then you may have a longer run that we actually have to put a joint in, which is basically the seam of the countertops where you bring two pieces together. That's where an experienced sawman is very crucial, because he can bring the color in. All slabs will vary from one end to the other of the slab, but matching those colors up is very, very important. That's where it's very important to have a sawman who takes great time in making sure that all of that is going to match up and come together.
Great. Well, that makes perfect sense. You don't want just anybody to go out there and start cutting through this granite slab. There's no telling what you'd end up with. Great. All right, Saul's got the laser beam shot down that granite. That's that red. That's not a chalk line, that's an actual laser beam. It's being shot down the granite so that he can line his saw up and know exactly that he's in the right spot. Alright, Saul is about to start the saw up. Here we go. It's a wet saw. It's cutting right down through that granite. It'll take a couple of minutes for it to get all the way down to the end. Maybe not that long. You can see how it does it. That's a diamond tip blade going through it. Here you can see the saw is adhering to that laser line. It's staying right on that line. So this is a very precise cut. All right, this is Thomas. He is digitizing the template. This big machine up there is it's sensitive to mouse clicks, and every time Thomas makes a mouse click on this template, then on the computer screen it draws a line. And that's what you're seeing right there. That long rectangle that's on the screen is that template, and it takes some very precise measurements, which is what you need when you're going to the final cutout of the granite countertop. This is the machine that actually does the cutting. Well, actually it's not the machine that does the cutting. That machine's out there. This is a computer that tells the machine how to make the cut. This is the program, and it's giving Thomas the run through so that he can review it before it happens, because you only get one shot at this. So what we've got here, I'm going to move this out of the way. Sorry about that. This is the computer is going to put an edge on that face down there. That red ball going across there, it's placing an edge on the front face of the granite, because there's only one finished piece to this. It's unfinished on the back, on the sides, and then the front gets an edge. And it takes, what, four cuts?
4 passes, yeah.
4 passes to make the cut. Now, each one of these dark green circles, what that is a suction cup. And Thomas has placed those in a way that he knows that it's not going to interfere with the cut. Show the three-dimensional viewpoint of what's going on here. Now you can kind of see the machine itself, and you see in here the different suction cups that are holding the granite in place. So this is really high-tech stuff, and the computer, he was telling us how it works, helps to eliminate any kind of errors that you might make if you weren't doing everything correctly. So this is just a simulation to let Thomas know that he's done everything correctly, and we're going to do a run through on the computer. Then we're going to take it out there to the cutting table, and the machine is going to do the actual cut on the granite. I'm learning a lot about countertop installation and fabrication myself today. What I was just finding out was that there are a couple of different ways of templating. This is a manual template. You go out into the field and you actually place all this together, glue it together so it conforms to the dimensions that you're given in the field. But there's also a digital template that is also used in the industry, but there's a problem with the digital template in that when you construct it, all you do is put little sensors on every corner, and there's a device out in the center of the room that's measuring distances to those sensors. So if you put one here and you put one at the far end, and it doesn't take into effect the fact that there's a little bow in the wall, then when you cut the granite, you're not going to be able to pick that up. So doing it the old-fashioned way, which is really kind of high-tech in the first place, I'm seeing is probably the best way to do it. It's built in with redundancy. You've got something physical to check against rather than just dots on a page that are emailed from the guy who's measuring in the field. So I'm real confident with the way that they're doing the job here, and we're going to end up with a great product. So now we're out at the computerized cutting machine. That's what all this, see all those suction cups out there on the machine. And Thomas is calling up all of the data that he just inputted in there in the digitizing machine. And he's getting everything ready to roll while the guys bring the slab over here and set it up. All right, now Thomas is arranging those suction cups to conform to the way that he had designed the machine to run when he was digitizing everything. Another thing I'll call your attention to it, and that is each one of these devices in the back, each one of those is a different bit depending on which edge that our customer selects. So the machine is going to pick the correct edge and put the edge on the granite. Another thing our friends at MID do is that they recycle all of the water that's used while they're cutting. It drains into the floor over there, is pumped back behind me into these reservoirs. It gets filtered and then it gets reused. So they're doing a great job with our environment too. The big machine there locates for Thomas where to place the suction cups. So it'll go to each location, and then Thomas will set the next suction cup. He just tries to get it close, but then the machine tells him exactly where to locate it. We'll do one more. There you go. So this is just like arranging dominoes. What's really cool about this is that each one of these suction cups is also a blowing device. And so when they take the granite and set it on top of the suction devices, then it's kind of like playing air hockey. They can maneuver the granite around very easily to set it in the right position. It's really cool. All right, now it's time to take the granite and place it on the table. All right, now you're seeing Thomas can very easily maneuver that slab of granite around. If it weren't for air blowing out from those suction cups, that would be a very difficult job. Then he went to the computer and turned the suction cups into sucking rather than blowing mode. So now the granite is down in position and it's ready to be cut. All right, behind that screen, the machine is about to start making the cut. It's the first pass to put the edge on the granite. So now you can see the machine is moving on its first pass. In order to put this particular edge, it's going to have to make 4 passes, but I won't stay here while it does that. But you can see it's a very, very precise device that MID uses in order to build your countertops. This is what's going on the other side of the big screen here. This is the first pass of the edging machine. Well, I just wanted to thank Jeff and Thomas and Hector over here at MID for allowing us to come in and watch how the Wren's countertops were going to be fabricated. This has been very educational for me, and I appreciate it very much, Jeff.
You're very welcome. Thanks for coming by.
All right, thanks a lot.